we'll start at the top of the conference, and we'll just kind of work our way down back and forth, trying to get through every single team. What team do you want to start with, and what is the trap game for them to look out for?
Let's start with the Georgia Bulldogs. I'll go ahead and pull it up right away. And honestly, that schedule, the start of it looks pitiful. So, I mean, Auburn's not going to put a scare into Georgia. So I'm thinking, what team is really going to put a scare into them? I think the South Carolina Gamecocks are going to be that trap game for the Georgia Bulldogs. But let's give you a spoiler alert. You're going to hear about South Carolina a lot in this because they're going to be everybody's nightmare. What do you think, Andrew?
Hold on. I was trying to get something. I can't really see that on our end. So you got South Carolina. You got at South Carolina late in the season. You got the Georgia looking at a potential trap game. Yeah, I mean, that can definitely be a tough slot for Georgia. No doubt about that. I think there's a chance the Vanderbilt game could be one to look at October 3rd. Between hosting Oklahoma and then going to Alabama. They are playing that game at home, but Vanderbilt could be tricky for a few teams, so I think that's a possibility. But, yeah, South Carolina is definitely one of those, we have now learned it is still scoreless.
Well, week 5 is a sloppy slate for the SEC, which that means one thing. Upsets can happen in sloppy slates.
Absolutely. Yeah, South Carolina, that place is always prime for upsets. South Carolina is one of those teams where every year you can just about count on. They're going to put a scare into somebody, and they're also going to scare themselves, if not multiple times per year. That's a good bet. I'll go to the Texas Longhorns next as the next team to look at, another team sort of towards the top. And I'm looking late in the season, and Texas trying to close out and put themselves in position to in the season on a strong note. And I'm looking at that game against the Arkansas Razorbacks on November 21st.
Ooh.
In between trips to LSU and trips to Texas A&M. I know they're going to be playing at home in DKR. Those are two really brutal road trips. The LSU game going to be massive for SEC championship hopes. Obviously, the A&M game as well, but that's a rivalry. And we do know this. Arkansas-Texas is one of those rivalries where there's one side that cares a whole lot more than the other, and that's Arkansas. So the Hogs are going to be fired up for that one. So I think if you're Texas, that's one to be weary of.
I'm going to go a different route and say Missouri is a trap game for Texas because, Missouri is one of those under-the-radar teams you see in the SEC. You don't hear a lot about them until it's too late. Ahmad Hardy, I believe, could put a scare into that Texas defense, and it's going to be closer than the experts have it, really. Because, while Texas is thinking a little bit about LSU, Missouri's really going to be bringing their A game against the Texas Longhorns in Barrett Field in Columbia, Missouri.
You can definitely see that as well. Jackson, what team do you want to take us to next?
Why don't we go to Ole Miss? Let's see what scares the Ole Miss Rebels, shall we?
I almost said something I shouldn't say, so I'm glad I stopped myself.
Oh, was there a really bad word? Oh, man.
Not a really bad word, but a sensitive topic. So I'll just leave it at that.
I think Florida is going to be a trap game for the Ole Miss Rebels because it's like they usually don't get that many wins in Gainesville, Florida. So and they're coming off an emotional game against LSU. So whether that's a huge win or they lose that game, you're going up against LSU. You're going up against a new Florida team this year in the month of September. That's going to make me nervous if I'm Ole Miss.
Yeah, that's a big letdown opportunity for the Rebels for sure. I think there's a lot of people when they do their season predictions are going to pick Ole Miss to start off 3-0 and get revenge on Lane Kiffin, but then are going to pick them to go and lose the next week in Gainesville. Michiganders saying, who doesn't ever win in Florida? Tennessee. Not true. Tennessee won in Gainesville last year, and was Tucker there for that? I can't remember if he was or not. But, yeah, shout out to the Vols. They got it done. A game I'd point to for Ole Miss, let's go to Halloween Auburn.
Yeah, like the last time I'm looking at when Ole Miss won in Gainesville was 2003. So that is kind of weird right there. So it's like that's why Florida's that trap game for the Ole Miss Rebels. They just can't win in Gainesville. Nobody can. You're saying which team you wanted to go next to, goodbye?
Well, no, I was saying for Ole Miss, Auburn on Halloween.
Ugh.
That game stuck between going to Texas and then Georgia at home next week. That you want to talk about a potential letdown? That could be one right there. That's a tricky spot.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't put that evil on me.
All right, let's. I'll go ahead and do it. Your Crimson Tide.
Oh man. I was wondering when anybody was getting around to that. So
in week 5 of the season,
ooh.
The Alabama Crimson Tide have to go to Starkville, Mississippi to take on the very underrated Mississippi State Bulldogs. An 11 a.m. kick in Starkville. It's going to be sleepy for the visitors. State fans are going to be fired up, obviously off a 4-0 start to the season, obviously. And Alabama, why are they paying attention here? Because, look, yeah, they got South Carolina the week before. The Gamecocks have all the hype in the world, and they've put a scare into Bama the past couple of years. Then Bama's playing Georgia the week after. That's a massive game.
Yeah.
Why are they going to be focused on little old Mississippi State whatsoever? The Bulldogs spring an upset of the Tide in week 5. Like, no. I actually do think it sets up as a trap game. I'm not going to predict Mississippi State wins that ball game. But actually, we were doing this exercise on the state channel, and I was like, in terms of schedule, just like a sandwich spot, I think Bama's got the worst of the teams that have to play Mississippi State this year, with Georgia being the week after, and then still that South Carolina game is going to be big for them as well. I'd obviously expect Bama's ultimately going to win that game, but I think that is an interesting sandwich spot.
Yeah, Mississippi State is a scary one right there. And at this point, I can't really call South Carolina a trap game.
Right.
But, like Kentucky makes a pretty good candidate for a trap game because, like, seats are going to be in Lexington. It's going to get wild over there because, like, Bama's thinking about revenge on Florida State for a little bit. But the Wildcats, they want to show that they are in it to win it in Lexington. But I'm going to go with Vandy as the trap game for Alabama. I mean, yeah, they've got their mind on Vandy now and not in Nashville compared to a couple years ago. But one thing to remember, though, is Alabama is coming off a tough slate against Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and LSU, as you see. But also, the fact is, Alabama, over the last couple of years, y'all probably noticed this, but they've lost that one game that they shouldn't have over the last couple of years. You would not think that, but they always win the big ones, but then they lose that one game that they shouldn't. Not saying they will against Vandy, but Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Kentucky are good candidates as teams to upset the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, y'all notice I don't put Auburn in that tier because, it's in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be Alabama smoking them like a chimney. Whereas, like, Alabama, Mississippi State, that just looks like a game that's going to be closer than the experts have it, especially when you see that week 5 is such a sloppy slate for the SEC that week. And Vanderbilt, oof, that's nerve-wracking. That is nerve-wracking. Like, even after you're coming off a high on a huge win over LSU, possibly, they're going to be waiting. They are going to be waiting right there. Yeah, nobody's watching Chattanooga. But if people want Alabama, if people want people to tune in for Alabama Chattanooga, just put it on, like, Disney Channel or something. Have, like, Phineas and Ferb call the game. I don't want to hear about playoff positions in the fourth quarter from the announcers.
The Vandy game could definitely be a big letdown spot. Where are you going to take us next?
Why don't we go to Texas A&M? So I'm really thinking that once again, South Carolina is that letdown spot because because you're coming off a bye week, you're coming off the huge game against Alabama and Tuscaloosa. Then you got a rough November slate to see whether you're going to either go to the SEC title game or if you're going to go back to the playoffs. You got Tennessee, you got Oklahoma, you got the Texas Longhorns. But South Carolina's going to be watching you like a hawk. I mean, you really think that they're not thinking about revenge? You really think they're not foaming at the mouth, pissed off about pissing away a 27-point lead against the Aggies? Oh, they're mad as a cottonmouth about that.
Could definitely see that, and it would be. We saw it a couple of years ago, obviously when A&M went to Columbia. I got the Kentucky game in September 19th. That game, they're going to have played Arizona State the week before, which that's their first big opponent of the year. So there's going to be some juice behind that. And I know Kentucky's the SEC home opener, but then look what they have the very next week at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're Kentucky trying to make a statement early in the year, I know the Bama game is early as well, so that could be tough. I think Kentucky coming off of Alabama when they play this game. Yeah, so that's going to be difficult. But A&M, if you catch them sleeping, looking ahead to that trip to Baton Rouge, I think Kentucky's a possibility. Speaking of those Tigers, for them, I think it was tough to find a great answer for LSU. I ended up going with at Auburn on October 24th. And the reason I say that is their 8th straight game to open up the season. Like, that's tough, playing 8 games in a row to open up a year. And the stretch leading into it's not crazy difficult, but they'll have played some big-time games early in the season. There's some difficult games for A&M, for LSU early on. So you get to the end of that stretch, and then I think you're looking like, dear God, can we just get to the bye week and get through this? But you got to go to Jordan-Hare, which is such a difficult place to play.
Yeah.
Auburn has obviously had a lot of success against LSU at home traditionally. That's a tough spot to be. So I think you could be looking at a bit of a letdown there.
Yeah, I could see that being a letdown game right there. Because, I mean, like, you're recovering from a brutal September. You got an easy, cozy October. No offense, Andrew. Like, October's pretty easy for the LSU Tigers. But then you've got a rough November coming your way. I think I'll go with Tennessee being a trap game for LSU because you got to go to Knoxville. You're going to be like, how much you want to bet you see Lane Kiffin getting rattled a little bit being in Knoxville? Like, I mean, there's going to be that one Vols fan throwing a mustard bottle like there was when Tennessee was playing Ole Miss 2021.
It's definitely a possibility. What do we got next?
We went over Texas. We went over Bama. We went over LSU. I don't think we've gone over Oklahoma, have we?
We've not. I've been keeping track of it.
Oh, man. Here we go. Well, Mr. Miller, we are going with the Oklahoma Sooners. Oh, thank you, Michigander. I think I'm going to go with Florida being that trap game for Oklahoma. Because, I mean, you're going to Gainesville, and there again, a rough November slate. Because, like, that's a little bit after the first playoff rankings. We don't know. I don't think Oklahoma is playing for SEC title game appearance, obviously, but I think they could play for a shot at going back to the playoffs. So they're going to be thinking about that, but Florida is going to be keeping their eye open on the Oklahoma Sooners because Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and then you have Missouri to that midst. That's rough.
Very difficult close. I've got one. This is fun.
Ooh.
It's early in the season, week 3, New Mexico.
Oh.
So hear me out. Oklahoma's going to be a
Jason
massive favorite, and if Oklahoma just shows up and isn't completely and plays a C- game, they will win easily. But the week before, they will have played at Michigan. The week after this, they are going to Georgia. And New Mexico is a good team. Jason Eck is one fantastic coach and has done a great job with that program. They went and dominated UCLA a season ago. I know UCLA is garbage and Oklahoma's not. It's different. I get that. But that's a team that's going to be confident going into this thing that they're going to be showing up. They're not there to take a check and get out of there. They're there to take a check and beat you. That's what their expectation is going to be. And again, Jason Eck, one heck of a coach. They got a lot of talent back on that team this year. All I'm saying is if you're Oklahoma, you better take it seriously. That's what I'm going to say. You better take the game seriously. I like the Sooners a lot this year. I would expect them to win this game easily. But you have to show up and you have to give some effort. That would be a big one.
Yeah, I mean, that could be like a 10-point win by Oklahoma, honestly. I mean, it's like, that could be like one of those games where Oklahoma just dodges a bullet. Or better yet, it's one of those games where you see a Power 4 opponent just dodging a bullet against a group of 6 opponent.
I see that game playing out as OU kind of just doesn't have its A game and squeaks out, like you said, like maybe they get a backdoor cover. Like maybe they probably like it's a battle for 3 quarters and then they get a couple touchdowns late, or the final score is, like you said, about 10 points. And everybody's going to be saying like, oh my God, OU's terrible. And then I think I don't think OU will beat Georgia. Probably. I don't know, maybe, but like, I don't think that game will be indicative of who OU is going to be. That's the point I'm getting. I could see OU struggling in that game and still being very good.
This comment right here by Michigander where he says New Mexico pulled 3 triple reverses on us, aka Michigan last year. Yeah, they put a scare into Michigan last year for a little bit, and they took Minnesota to overtime. Look, I know like taking Minnesota to overtime, it's not like taking Alabama or Michigan or Ohio State to overtime or anything, but still though, that's a pretty good track record against Power 4 opponents right there.
They're a good team and they're well coached. And again, they're up for the challenge. So OU better look out. Next one that I'll take us to, the Tennessee Volunteers. And they got to go to Arkansas on October 10th. And that's going to be after they will have hosted Texas. They will have played Auburn. And then after going to Arkansas, they're going to go to Alabama, which obviously that's such a massive game for them, as everybody knows. That's the middle of like a tough stretch. Maybe you could talk about the Auburn game as a letdown potentially too, but I think week before, third Saturday in October, and it being a road game, that could be a real letdown spot for the Vols.
One game I believe will be, I'll go in a different direction from you, good buddy. I think it's going to be South Carolina. Because I suspect Tennessee does beat Alabama in Knoxville again. Hoping I'm wrong about that, but Tennessee's going to bring their A game against the Crimson Tide. They always seem to win the big games at home. They can't win the big ones on the road. Like the road against top 25, top 10 teams are basically kryptonite for them. But when it's at home, they usually get it done. But I do suspect the South Carolina Gamecocks can be a rough stretch for them. They will be watching for Tennessee celebrating a little too much. Whereas South Carolina is going to bring their A game.
Yeah, and I did misspeak and say that game was at Alabama. It is at home, but again, that adds to it being where you can see a bit of a letdown. But you're right, South Carolina afterwards. That's another tough one as well.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. Did we go to Texas A&M?
We have, yes. So we are now through the projected top half of the SEC. We have hit all of those teams.
We've hit Bama, we've hit Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma.
Here's who we have left:
Tennessee,
Florida, Missouri, Auburn, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas.
Ooh, here we go. Why don't we go to Auburn for a sec?
Okay.
Oh, man. So I will call Mississippi State a trap game for Auburn. Like, that's the closest one I can think of. I don't really see Arkansas scaring anybody. I mean, like that Brian Silverfield team, I don't think they have any fight in them, honestly. I mean, I'm seeing Chad Morris vibes all over the place at Arkansas for Ryan Silverfield. But Kamario Taylor, oh, he's going to scare the crap out of that Auburn defense.
Yeah, Auburn's another one of those teams where it's tough to find one, and I think State's got to have a good chance there. I went to a different one earlier in the season, and there's no reason to call this a trap game when this team has beaten Auburn the past couple of seasons. But Vanderbilt on September 26th. And this is less about being a trap game and more about being a letdown game.
Oh.
So Auburn, the week before, gets their home game against Florida, which has been circled as like this is a massive game. Like John Sumrall versus Alex Golesh. Sumrall, the coach that don't let Auburn fans tell you that's not who they wanted. That's who they wanted. And I think Golesh was a good hire. But that's such a massive game for the trajectory of both teams' seasons. And then the week after, so you play that game, then you get Vanderbilt at home, which is a homecoming game. I get it. And then you're going to Tennessee, though, the week after that. So I think it's really easy. Like you could have some emotional letdown, whether you win or lose against Florida. There's some letdown potential, and there's some look-ahead potential the next week. So, yeah, look, Auburn has no business disrespecting Vanderbilt, but I think that's a tough spot to get that game.
Yeah, I see where you went with it, why you went with Vanderbilt, because, I mean, you're thinking about Florida in week 3, and then afterwards you got, like, Tennessee for week 5. Man, it's too bad you don't see both those teams on an annual basis for the Auburn Tigers. Like, it's so weird, though. But, yeah, those are going to be some good games. But Vanderbilt is definitely going to have something to say about Auburn's season for 2026. I still can't believe Vanderbilt's an annual opponent for Auburn, but not Florida. But oh well.
Speaking of the Gators, that's where I'll take us next.
Ew.
There was a couple. It's tough to pick one here because I don't think there's a ton of obvious ones. But I chose – I had a couple I was deciding between. I ultimately chose late in the season at Kentucky, November 14th.
Yeah.
And it's because of where it falls. Like it's not a look-ahead spot. It's a letdown spot after back-to-back games. You're going to play Georgia this year in Atlanta. No longer the cocktail party has made a move slightly north. Then you host Oklahoma, massive game. But then if you get through those two games, the closing stretch is at Kentucky, Vanderbilt, at Florida State. And I think Florida's opinion is going to be, okay, if we get through Georgia and Oklahoma, maybe we split those games. Especially even if you're having a good year, we have a clear path the rest of the season. Just win out and we're maybe a playoff team or we're going to a really good bowl. And then that's when you go to Kentucky. And that's been a place that has been tough for Florida in the past. I know Kentucky gets really hyped up for the Florida series, which is so weird because Florida won like 32 years in a row. But Kentucky in recent years has done a lot better in that series. So I think that's a tricky spot.
Oh, it is. And I'm right there with you on Kentucky being that trap game for Florida because, like you said, you can't really find an obvious trap game. In years past, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you could find an obvious trap game for Florida. But the way the Florida Gators have been in the Billy Napier era where they were just a disaster all over the place, just falling short of expectations constantly, it was getting to the point now that 2026 is basically that year where you can only find one game that just basically looks like a trap game. And like you said, that game is Kentucky for the Florida Gators.
Yeah, also considered at Missouri because you got at Auburn and then Ole Miss right before it. But, I think that Kentucky one is the most obvious. Who do you want to take us to next?
Let's go to Missouri. I don't think we've gone to Missouri, have we?
We've not. We have 6 teams left.
I'm torn on this, good buddy, because I think
there's not an easy one to go to.
For me, I think I'll go with Kansas. I think Kansas on
interesting. I think it's
the border war.
I have a hard time. I'm going to challenge you, and I hate to do this, but I don't know if you can call that rivalry. I don't know if you can call that a letdown spot.
You don't think it will be?
It's their first big game of the year. Dude, they hate each other so much. They're going to be fired up.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll be watching on the edge of my seat. I'll be staying up for that one. The Jayhawks, I get it. They had a bad year last year. But Lance Leopold, I told people that feels much similar to Matt Campbell at Iowa State, where he's just getting wins all over the place for that university. And it's the same thing with Kansas. Now, I would not be surprised if I saw the Kansas Jayhawks upsetting Missouri in this one. I mean, they came close last year, but they were no cigar. But I think like this year can be a good one right there. I mean, this is basically an either or type game. I mean, all eyes are going to be on Ohio State, Texas, or Oklahoma, Michigan. But one game to really keep an eye on Friday night is Kansas, Missouri. Because, I mean, hey, you don't have NFL Thursday night because it's on Wednesday night instead. Or you don't want to watch the Netflix game between the 49ers and Rams because you're like, I don't want to pay for Netflix. This is where Kansas, Missouri comes in.
So, yeah, I mean, I had Kentucky as my answer for a lot of teams just because they seem to get favorable draws. And that one late in the year, like after, like they will have played Texas at Georgia, then it's Kentucky at home, and then Oklahoma at home. I think that's a clear letdown. But I'll give you another one here. That Troy game in week 3.
Oh.
And I don't know that Troy's going to be a great team, but what I'll tell you is coming off that rivalry with Kansas, then the week before you have the next week you have your SEC opener at Mississippi State. Troy has a new OC, Adam Austin, a guy coming up from the lower levels who is very well respected as like one of these super innovative young offensive minds that runs some stuff that just is going to scare the daylights out of you. And we've talked about Missouri's defense having some questions early in the year with all the new pieces. Look out for Troy. That's all I'm going to say. Look out for Troy in week 3. Let's talk about the Gamecocks because this was a popular team for Jackson to pull a lot of upsets. But in South Carolina lore, they can't just pull upsets and it be enough to be good. They're also going to get upset somewhere. At Arkansas, November 14th. Ooh. And that's in the middle of a very tough stretch for them overall. They will have played, so coming off their bye on October 17th, Tennessee, at Oklahoma, Texas A&M. They're going to close the year Georgia and at Clemson. That is insane. Sandwiched between all of that is a trip to Fayetteville.
Oh, yeah.
And if there was never a more obvious South Carolina is going to find a way to lose this football game, it is at Arkansas in the middle of that stretch.
I could see that being a big trap game for the Gamecocks. I would not be surprised if that were to happen. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, still not sure about where Ryan Silverfield's taking Arkansas.
Let me say this on the Hogs, because I was one of the first ones when we did our coach reaction show. I kind of blasted the Silverfield hire the most. And I'm still not necessarily a big believer. I've talked about it before. I think his results at Memphis were very underwhelming relative to the resources that he has there. And now he's at an SEC program that does not have the same resources as the rest of the league. Now, Arkansas has done a good job upping a lot of its resources. They're no longer in an awful spot, but they're still towards the bottom of the league. So, how is that going to translate? However, I don't think their roster is as god-awful as maybe most people assume. A lot of people are picking Arkansas to go 2-10, 3-9, and that might happen. But I think if they do it, one, they're very competitive, and I kind of think there's a chance they spring a couple upsets this year. I don't think they're a bowl team, but I'm starting to buy into Arkansas is going to be a little bit better than most people think.
Oh, yeah. Fayetteville is a tough place to play. Those fans get up and get loud. Ooh, 100%. They do. But
I took South Carolina. Who do you have next?
Okay, so we did Alabama.
We have Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas. I've been
Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Arkansas. Oh man.
So yeah, the 4 teams we have left. Good luck finding a true trap game on the schedule.
Oh god. Oh man. Did we do Kentucky?
We did. Oh no, we haven't. We didn't. Sorry.
No, we did. Yeah, no, we didn't. I didn't think we did. Ooh.
We've talked about them a lot as a trap game.
But we've not talked about a trap game for Kentucky. I guess the closest one I can find is South Alabama because they're coming off a 2-game stretch against Alabama and Texas A&M, and afterwards they've got South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt coming up. but South Alabama might keep it close with them in the first quarter. But Kentucky, I think, can just kind of wake up a little bit in the second half and, just kind of like get things done. And plus, this is a new coaching staff. So we're going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, there's not a great answer here. Like, I thought about South Alabama. The Jags are probably not going to be very good.
No.
I tried to look at a few of these teams I don't know about. Youngstown State's a good FCS team some years. They're not great, though, and that's the season opener. I had South Alabama. Yeah, that was the one that I went on. There's not a great answer for Kentucky, so I won't push back there. They don't have an obvious one, but maybe between at Texas A&M and at South Carolina, that could be a bit of a letdown. I'll go to Vanderbilt. I'm going to do it again. At Kentucky, October 24th. Kentucky keeps popping up for a lot of us. This is another, like LSU, Vanderbilt has to play 8 straight games to open up the season. And you get Kentucky at the end of that stretch when you had at LSU, Oklahoma, and at Texas leading up to it. I know there's I guess there's Arkansas. I was looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. You could argue Arkansas the weekend. I was looking at a different note. My apologies. 8 straight to open. You can make a case the Arkansas game the week before, right after the Ole Miss game, but still 8 straight weeks going into the bye. You're probably just assuming a win, but you got that road trip there at the end of Kentucky. I could see that being a slip up.
Oof. Yeah, it's just going to be a mess for Vanderbilt going against Kentucky, but I think I'll go with a different game for Vanderbilt. I think you're going to love this, Andrew. Spoiler alert. Mississippi State. I mean, like Kamario Taylor and that Mississippi State offense in Starkville, Mississippi, especially if you got it at nighttime, that's going to be scary for the Vanderbilt Commodores because, like, Vanderbilt's not going to be sitting there thinking about Mississippi State all the way through at night. They're going to be thinking about Alabama. But Mississippi State is going to bring their A game against Vanderbilt, honestly.
Okay, so you want to know what's funny?
What's that?
And I know, like, it would technically be your turn to go here. I actually had Vanderbilt as the trap game for Mississippi State.
Oh, wow.
And here's why.
Wow.
Again, Mississippi State, there's no reason to give them a trap game. Like ULM to open up the season, ULM's not going to be very good. They have Tennessee Tech late in the year. That's not a concern. Maybe you can make a case at Minnesota, but I think you have to take that game seriously. I don't think they're going to be – maybe you're looking ahead to the trip to South Carolina, but like I think the Vanderbilt one, it is not a trap game, but it's a letdown spot. This is what I was reading the wrong note a second ago. You have – at LSU, Oklahoma, at Texas, and then you come back home with Vanderbilt. And that feels like a very tough spot to be when you've played 3 straight teams that could all be in the top 10. And you're like, thank God we're home we're not playing a top 10 team. It's like, okay, well, but you're playing a good program now in Vanderbilt. And Jared Curtis at this point is no longer a true freshman. What if he's having a big year? I think State could potentially have a letdown there. So that's what I settled on for that one. So for the Bulldogs, I mean, what do you see as is there a trap game for Mississippi State that you had circled?
Oof.
It's hard to find one.
I know. It's just like I feel like Mississippi State was more of a letdown for Vandy, honestly, but I can't really.
Realistically, that's fair. I'm just saying that, okay, you have to find one, and where is it on the schedule?
Minnesota, week 2, maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's close this out with Arkansas.
Ugh. Let's get it over with, boys. Let's get it over with. Oh, my God. I think I know what my trap game for Arkansas will be.
Oh. What do you got?
Tulsa.
I agree.
I mean, they put a scare in the Oklahoma State last year.
They didn't put a scare. They won.
Yeah, they scared the crap out of them.
No, Tulsa, Trey Lamb is a very good coach. They were a lot better last year than I think people were expecting. Although I say that, they go like 3-9 in one of those.
Oh, they went 4-8.
They went 4-8 with a win over Oklahoma State. But still, people thought they'd be worse than that. They got a lot of pieces back. Their best players transferred out, as you would expect, but they still have a lot of returning pieces. They could take a big step forward this year. You got Georgia the week before, then you're going after the Utah game, and then you're at Texas A&M, Tennessee. Like, if you're Arkansas, you better go all out for the Tulsa game because it's like, hey, we need to get a win. And I know I literally just a couple minutes ago said that I think Arkansas will probably be better than a lot of people think. And I do actually buy into that. But that would be a spot that is worrisome for me. If I'm coming off to back-to-back, if I've gotten beat down the 2 weeks prior, I would be a little bit concerned.
Oh, man. Like, I want to see if Trey Lamb can really get things going for Tulsa. I mean, his record at Gardner Webb and East Tennessee, it's mid. Like, like his coaching record's terrible so far. Like 31-33.
Well, I mean, I have to feel I haven't looked at Trey Lamb, but like he's considered an up and comer is kind of the thing. And like was a good offensive mind previously in his career. And I get it. The coaching record's not super impressive, but like he took Gardner Webb from being, I think they were pretty terrible before he took over.
They were terrible.
Yeah, they were horrific before he took over, and he turned them into a playoff team. ETSU was not as bad. They had kind of been although the couple years before they struggled. So they were 3-8 the 2 years prior, and then he comes in and then wins 7 games. I actually think I get it. The overall record's not impressive, but in context, he's actually done a pretty nice job.
That's fair. So he was kind of like the Matt Campbell of the FCS ranks, just like getting places turned around all over the place.
You can definitely make that case.